All right. So again, Vicki Nadolski, who briefly introduced herself this morning, we have the opportunity for her to spend some time with us. And she's going to talk about a few things and then, I think, answer questions, right?
So I really want to answer questions, but don't turn the lights out. Whoever's turning the lights out, leave the lights on. Thank you. Hear me? Is this thing on? Okay. So I didn't really want to give you a PowerPoint presentation. You've been sitting here all day, but I got to show you a couple of things. And I'll try to be really quick so that we can use most of the time just for me to answer any questions you have about anything. And one reason I kind of changed, I think when I first talked to Keith about coming, I said, just give me some time, you know, with just the Weather Service folks, and informal, I'll answer any questions you have or try to answer any questions. Then last week we had the leadership team and the LIFT team, you all, at least Western Region and Alaska, I have Alaska here, you know what LIFT is. It's our leadership development program. And last week I had them together, and they were telling me that there's not enough communication and we don't know what decision support. You didn't say we don't know what decision support is, but you said the message isn't coming out often enough and from the top. And I'm not the top, but I'm close to it. I was really close to it for about 3 years. So I just want to share a few things with you. You've already seen it today. Decision support, you're already doing it. Big deal. So are you going to do that for me? Thank you. Can you do that? All right, let's go to the next slide quickly. So what is it? Tailoring forecasts based on user-defined thresholds to better communicate human, economic, and environmental impacts. So what does that mean? We want to make sure that people have the best information, the best forecast, the best data to make their decisions. But as part of that, we have to understand what it takes for them to make a decision. What are the thresholds that they're making those decisions based on? Some of you are already doing it. Follow through beyond the product issuance. I'm going to give you an example of where we didn't do such a good job. I've heard a lot of good examples already about where we've done a great job. Look at Deepwater Horizon, look at the Michigan oil spill. But those events occurred, and then we rushed out to help them. We do it every year with fire weather. You know, the fire starts, out we go. I mean, we do things in preparation ahead of time. I'm not saying we don't do that. But issuing a red flag warning is not sufficient, and it's not going to be sufficient in the coming years. We've got to get out there. We've got to be talking to the customers, the partners, the people making decisions. And we need to never give up on improving what we do. Next slide. So I'm saying this is what decision support is. It's about building the relationships with the decision makers. I'm going to talk about another example in a minute. Understanding the impacts on the community, evolving from product focused to service focused. Be more focused on the service to the end user that you're providing as opposed to the product itself. Yes, we still issue the zones. We still edit the zones. And the zones have been around for over 35 years because I was issuing the zones 35 years ago or something similar to it. So this is my goal that I put up here, that no decision maker acts without our involvement. There's different ways of looking at that, but I want them coming to you saying, hey, tell me what's going to happen so before I make my decision. That's what that's all about. Next. I'm going to skip through this because this is a good example of decision support and a partnership in the Salt Lake office where you guys actually went out, met with the state DOT, and now who, by the way, has private meteorologists. And we are collaborating so very well that we've even seen that, you can go to the next slide because this is 2 slides on this very subject. And I'm sure you could go to the web page. You can go to UDOT's web page and see National Weather Service information. You can go to the Weather Service Forecast Office and see the UDOT information. So we're working very closely together so that the Department of Transportation knows what to do with certain corridors going in and out of Salt Lake City in particular, I-15, a major transportation corridor. And we've seen increases in traffic flow just prior to an event. So people are using transportation. And that's what it's about. What we do types of users. Another, the low flow report count. So they put temporary logging bridges in for the logging season. If they take them out too early, then you miss out on logging. There's an economic impact. If you take it out too late, the salmon don't make it out to sea. So it's really, and we didn't know this, and so National Marine Fisheries, which is one of our partner agencies in NOAA, has been picking a date, pulling those logging bridges out, so the salmon could get back out. And it was an arbitrary date. Now we have to put this out so that we can give them better information in making that decision on when to pull those bridges. Next. This is a recent example, actually, of a bridge that's been constructed over a river or is in the process of being constructed. And they put a dam in place to protect the construction site. If they pull the dam out, if they remove it, then that could result in millions of dollars of loss. If they don't remove it, then there could be flooding to retail areas. So the decision has to be made on when to remove that dam. And they need us, and they need our forecast to do that. And so we now have forecasts out for 5 days to help them make that decision. Next slide. So what if we don't have the best working relationship? I'm going to come back to my what is decision support, building relationships, understanding the impacts, delivering the best service, being focused on the services. And here's an example. This was, I think it was September, actually, even though this says summer. Wasn't it September machine gun fire? Machine gun fire, why is it called machine gun fire? Because the National Guard was practicing at Camp Williams, southwest of this city, southwest of Salt Lake City. And they sparked fire. We had a red flag warning out, plenty of lead time. But the National Guard went ahead and did their routine training exercises, started this fire, and I actually could see it from my hotel where I was living at the time. And many homes were destroyed. The community was evacuated. Luckily, no loss of life. So MIC Larry Dunn comes in to see me. He says, you know, when I look at this example, I feel like we failed. We put out a red flag warning, but the problem is we didn't have a relationship with the National Guard, and this is not the first time this has happened. We hadn't built that relationship. Had we had, and he will say, had we had a closer working relationship with the National Guard, perhaps they wouldn't have had that training exercise that day. Roger Lemonia, who's the Western region people know Roger. I remember Roger saying to me the day after this happened, he says, well, they've done it, they do it the same time every year. Well, what if we go out and talk to the National Guard and we try to impress upon them that perhaps that's not the best time to do that training exercise, and let's do it another time. That's what decision support's about. Go ahead. I said I wasn't going to show a PowerPoint, but I did. This is what I'm talking about, going from products to services. You can't just issue the red flag warning. You want to understand what is the impact to the community and to be able to go all the way to the end, to go to Deepwater Horizon, to go to the Incident Command Center. And like I said, we do this all the time with fire weather. It doesn't always mean go out on site. But this is where we need to go. We need to be more focused on services as opposed to the product. Next slide. So in the end, this is my last slide. My message to you is it's about building the relationships and the partnerships. And there's certainly communities where you can't go out and build a relationship with every single decision maker in that community. Some of you can. The ones that are going to really be, that are really important in that community where your population focus is and the areas that you have to pay most attention to. But some of you won't be able to do that. I mean, no doubt, Los Angeles, they're not going to be able to get to every single person, every single part of that community that's making a critical decision, but they can get to a lot of them. So build those relationships so that we understand the impact to the community and so that they understand what we can provide to them to help protect that community, and start thinking about getting away from the product that I'm issuing. Is it the product or is it the service that we need to deliver? So I put my goal back up there: no decision maker acts without our involvement. In other words, without coming to the Weather Service and saying, hey, I've got this, whatever it is, I don't know, I've got to put this dam in place to protect this construction site. What can you help me with so that I can better make my decisions on protecting the community downstream? The Howard Hanson Dam. How many people know about the Howard Hanson Dam? About that? I actually got to meet with Senator Cantwell, and it wasn't a really good experience, I'll tell you, because she wanted to hold NOAA responsible for whatever was going to happen at the Howard Hanson Dam about a year ago. This happened about a year ago. And what was important to that community was the fact that, and I actually went out and saw the dam, and it's an earthen dam, and it's got some vulnerabilities, and if that dam were to fail, then there'd be billions of dollars lost to that economy. But not only that, at the base of the stream flow, where the Green River, I guess it is, in that community, is a prison. And they need enough time to evacuate that prison should there be a dam failure. And that was really upsetting the community. Were we going to get enough time so that our community would be safe while, you know, the officials could come in and evacuate that prison? So we put things in place. We've got the RFC out there. The RFC providing different, a little more enhanced services than they were before. But it took going out, meeting with the Corps of Engineers, meeting with the community leaders, and understanding what the impact would be, depending on the forecast, how much rain was coming in, what was the impact going to be to that community. So I'm done with the PowerPoint, and I have a few things I want to share with you. In May of this past year, there was a record-setting flood event in Tennessee and Kentucky, primarily Tennessee, and it was in the Nashville area. And we did a service assessment. And just this week, actually yesterday, I don't even know what day it is, yesterday, Jane Hollingsworth was the team lead for that. Jane briefed the corporate board, Jack Hayes, and regional directors on the findings from that service assessment. And one thing that I took away and is on my mind is the big question: are our offices ready for the big event? And I look at what came out of that service assessment. The WFO did the best it could, and they did pretty well. The RFC did the best they could with the information they had. But I think the screaming message is they didn't do enough. And there wasn't enough of the building of the partnership with the Corps. And by the time the Corps was having to deal with major flooding and having to control dams to try to protect the community, there was this huge void in communication with the WFO and with the RFC. I think I was a little taken aback that the HIC, no, the RFC that services the Nashville area is Cincinnati. And I was a little taken aback that the HIC didn't go in the office the whole weekend. The darn event started Friday night, went through the whole weekend. I want my MICs in your office. I want my HIC in the office. I want them in there to support you, to help you, in case you need that help. I don't know that whether the MIC went into the WFO or not. But what was interesting, what came out at WFO was the forecaster said, we'll wait till the service hydrologist comes in tomorrow morning. They weren't ready for a hydrologic event. And you can't wait. You can't say, I'm waiting for Gina to show up in the office before, because I don't know what to do. So we have to be ready. I mean, every one of the offices that are represented here certainly aren't going to have that record-breaking flood event, but you're going to have something, or you may have something, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and are you ready? And that worries me. Are we ready? Because I don't know that we're ready. I think we are ready in a lot of cases, but not every case. So it really goes back to decision support, building the partnerships, understanding what the impact could be, working as a team, the whole office working as a team. That Nashville event, a loss of $2 billion and 26 fatalities, 11 of which were in Nashville. That's pretty traumatic. Now, on the 18th of November, we have a monthly MRC HIC call. I'm going to have Jane briefing the highlights to give you something to think about. Please, my MICs in the office, and please bring your management team to the call. I mean, and hear what was found. I heard, I think it was Dan say, know your audience. I think that's pretty important, to know your audience. Know who you're talking to, know who you're working with. I think he made another really good point. You don't know where the message that you deliver is going. Who's on the go-to meeting? Is anybody on go-to meeting? I want to know where my message is going. What's that? Uh-oh, Vegas is on. I wonder if anybody's really on. I'm kidding. What's that? There's a name. That's okay. Oh, you're watching for me. You're watching. Right, right. Not that I have any secrets, but I want you to feel, maybe I do have secrets, but I won't be telling you. But I wanted you to feel like you could ask anything, not just about this topic, but anything you want to ask me. This is your opportunity. So there. Oh, a question.
What do you see as the greatest challenge to meeting the goal?
So that who can hear? We don't care.
Vicki, what do you see as some of our greatest challenges in order to meet your goal? What are some of the challenges that we're going to face, and how can we overcome those?
Carl? No, I'm kidding. I won't bail yet. I think we have to, the biggest is, well, let me ask, well, I shouldn't ask you a question back. I think the biggest, there are several challenges. One is the culture within the given office. I mean, I talk to MICs. I'm trying to talk to them at least every other month. I can't commit to every month. It's just too much. But I'm talking to them. I'm saying how, and especially right now because, you know, it's the new year. It's the new performance year starting. And I want to know from my MICs, what are you doing to promote and push decision support services in your office? And I've got some saying, well, you know, all of my employees just aren't on board. I meant to ask that question before I started, so we'll ask that question. Some of them just don't, they're not there. So I think that's a huge challenge. Do they get this idea of moving away from the product, focusing on the service? I'm not saying we don't deliver products. Don't take that to, that's not what I'm saying. You have to issue a warning. And we've seen some great examples. Glasgow did a great job with that tornado event this summer. Did a fabulous job. And many of our offices do a fabulous job. So I'm not saying don't do that, but can we change the mindset? Can we, and not everybody's going to want to go to the partner either. Now, everybody has that skill to be able to sit, you know, introverts, although I don't see too many in this room. I haven't seen them up here anyway, but I know they're out there. So I think that's one thing, is to change the culture. The other is to, we need tools. I think we need tools to make your job easier so that you can get out, and because you've got to be able to get out. I mean, we've got this effort going on, at least in the West, the no edit for some, and Carl actually talked about it, to be able to automate some of the products so that hopefully you can just let those go so that you're not tied to the desk, so that you're not, and you can have some of that, you can have exercises within the office. You can get out more. It's not just the WCM's job to get out in the community. I think you know that. So I really think it's really the culture to change the way people think and approach the job. I think that's the biggest challenge. Okay. You have to have the mic so that the go-to meeting people can hear. What happened? What does he want?
Vicki, my question is the support of regional and national headquarters of local offices adapting to new technologies coming available at a quicker pace than what we have. I know, but again, this has been my thing that I've been kind of pushing.
Because you want Facebook. I know. It's higher than my pay grade, you know. Dr. L. And sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. Now, I didn't say step outside the box. You didn't hear me say that, but I hear where you're going. I have my own, well, when it comes to new technology, we have to decide what our role is, first of all. All right, now, specifically to Facebook. So you now have a WFO that has a Facebook page. For whatever well, that just came out in NWS News, that the Southern Region has the first WFO to have a Facebook page. Do you only have one? No, I think right now everybody else was shut. Huh? What? Well, then I don't know why you can't have one. I would have to say I don't know why you can't have one. I don't know what the trial is. Okay? So we'll take an action to find out what's the holdup now. I don't know what the holdup is. There are certain IT security concerns we have to be worried about. There are bad people in the world. Everybody know that? There are bad people in the world that are breaking into our systems. And it's even hard for me to visualize, but I was sitting in my office one day on the 18th floor of the Ivory Tower, and somebody comes in and we need Jack's computer. We got to take it. Someone's gotten into it, hacked it. Foreign country had gotten in. And they actually took 4 computers that day out of our building. We don't know how it happens. And you can say, well, who cares? Hey, I don't know what they're going to do with the data. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, but there's bad people out there. So there's good reason for IT security. But I realize it's also gets in the way of what we think we should do and want to do. I can't tell you why we can't move faster with Facebook and Twitter and all those tools. I can't answer that. All right, but I'm willing to have somebody look into I don't know, it just went out publicly not too long ago. And I thought it was a Southern Region site. Here's the first Facebook page, but I don't know okay, are we supposed to wait 6 months and then you can have one? I don't know. That's what you think. Now, when it comes to developing applications for every single device out there, I am opposed to it because we can't keep up, and that's not your job. I don't think your job in the WFO or the RFC, I don't even have any RFC people here, do I? What's wrong with that picture, Keith? I'm blaming Keith for everything that I feel like doesn't go right here, okay? But I don't think that's not our job to develop all these applications to get the message out to every mobile device out there. Let Let the cell phone companies do that. We push it out, let them take care of it. Now somebody will say, well, they don't take care of it. Our jobs get the warning out, get the forecast out. I don't think our jobs try to keep up with technology. We can't. We don't have the, you see how long it takes to get anything done. And I don't want your office doing it one way and his office doing not the same. All right. You're all Montana. Well, you're not all Montana. But I don't want you doing it one way and him doing it another way. That was something else that came up, sharing. How do we share what we do in offices?
All right, I'll try. How do we start trying to hire the employees that are going to be the ones to interface with the customer successfully? When you think about the typical matrix of assessing somebody coming out of college, man, they've got computer skills, man, they score high on the meteorology stuff, but it might be that they're hitting the bar every day at 4 o'clock, and those are the students we want because they're the ones that can rub shoulders with the emergency managers and things like that and get this sort of information transfer. How do we find those people that may not be the 3.5 and may not be the guru on the computer skills? What are we telling them to? How are we adjusting our meteorologist requirements? How do we find the mediocre meteorologist who may be the superstar outreach person?
I'd rather have the better than mediocre with all the skills we need, right? I think we have to look at when we're hiring and selecting individuals. I mean, that's one way. We have to talk to universities. I mean, we need to start, and we haven't, talking to universities about some of the skills we think people need and to have some influence on the curriculum. But I have to tell you, that's a tough nut to crack. We've been saying that at the highest levels for the last 10 years, and we've not made it yet. It's something we really should work on. I think it's something that the MIC, first of all, we don't have an overabundance of candidates for intern positions. I think we're rebidding at least 2 right now, because we didn't get any candidates, viable candidates. I think we got one that said, no, I'm not coming, or I don't know. They turn us down, or they don't really want to move, or you go through that they've already taken a job someplace else because it takes us so long to hire anybody. That's another problem. I think I got to rely on the MICs to look at those candidates very carefully, to interview them. I mean, there's nothing wrong with interviewing, okay? And see how they communicate with you over the phone. Gosh, if we get that little camera thing to work, we'll have them. Now, you are going to have a little camera. I'm going to be able to see you. Your MICs are worried about that. She's going to want to look at me when she's talking to me. Right, Michael? Okay. It has to start with, I don't know, doing a better job of figuring. But sometimes you don't have a choice. You got a vacancy, you got to hire somebody. But I think another part is getting out to universities and impressing upon them, or students. I mean, we bring in students. Are they the right students? I don't know. You have to, you can ask a question. Somebody else. What? Oh, you're going to help me?
The Western Region MICs actually talked about this issue. So it's being talked about by the MICs of how we start looking at people, candidates differently. So
Vicki, why can't we train them ourselves too? We put our interns through 18 months of training for severe track and winter track and everything. Why not incorporate more DSS training than that?
A great idea. How about that? More training. Communications training, right? How to talk to people. We should do that. That ought to be part of moving out. Part of your job. That's a Sue's job. All the training's a Sue's job. No.
in the same light, as we work closer and closer with our partners, and there's going to be more demands on being outside the office, is there any future ideas where we're going to end up expanding maybe the office structure, or changing the office structure so there isn't just one? And I know you said the quote, it's not just the WCM's job to get out in the community, but is there going to be a time in the future where there is going to be maybe a WCM junior, I guess, in the office, maybe too? That's actually a job where it'd be a good training point for maybe a 12 to start being able to get some of those skills and also help with that kind of activity?
I'm not going to stop you. We already have assistant SUs and assistant WCMs, don't we? Some offices have assistant SUs, assistant WCMs. If you're asking a bigger question, when are we going to get more people so we could do this? It won't be in my career. I hate to say that, but I just don't see. Look at the economic situation this country's in. Do you think we're going to get more resources? Does anybody think we're going to be able to go get more positions? We've got to make better use of the positions we have. I will tell you, though, I think we've got some flexibility that we should take advantage of, but we're constrained right now because not everybody wants to go down that path. And we've got, there's a push to get more resources, more FTEs. When I say resources, that's what I'm talking about in this case. I don't see it happening in these times. But we've got a certain constituency who believes that can happen, that all they got to do is run up on the Hill and say, look at Deepwater Horizon, look at the Michigan oil spill. We could have done so much better if we had 3 more people or 5 more people. Or I don't see it happening. Am I answering the question? You can say no.
No, you are answering the question. You are answering the question. I guess what I'm more concerned is, and it's something that we've discussed in our office with Michael, that as grid editing decreases and decision support is going up, there's not maybe going to be needed to have 2 people nonstop. And so without adding people within the office, you can take people that already exist, FTEs that are already there, and then change their job description.
And I think that's doable. And wouldn't it be nice? Oh, I don't want to go there. How many are here from Missoula? So, I just talked to Bruce Balk what's today, Wednesday? Monday. I think I had a call with him Monday. And he's working shifts so that you guys can be here. So, not all of you. I mean, he's not covering for every one of you. And I said, you've been doing decision support out of your office for years. And every office has to a certain extent. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I have to think back to the 2005, the Rolling Stones. That's right. The Rolling Stones were Missoula. So was I. And I was there. Remember that? I was there for an arbitration hearing because Missoula wanted to adjust the work schedule and only have 1 person on the midnight so that they could have another person during the day when you can get out to the customer. Okay? Well, we lost. And maybe someday we can get back to thinking about those kinds of things. I mean, do I think for 1 second in the middle of hurricane season that Slidell or Lake Charles or Miami, do I think for 1 second that you want 1 person alone in the middle? No. But are there times that you could consider changing your schedule so that your very outgoing, bright forecaster can go out and talk to the partner? I think there are ways. I don't know when we're going to tackle it. I don't know if that'll be in my career either. But I'm not going anywhere for a while. I mean, I just got back, so I've got 35 years in, but I have no plans to retire. So for those who think I came back to retire, forget it.
My question for you, Vicki. There's a push for us to be more aware of how to deal with impacts in the community. With a tight budget, how do we get the proper training that we wouldn't necessarily get as a staff instead of just the incident meteorologist to deal with a major catastrophe? Because I know for our area, a major catastrophe would be a train wreck and have to deal with that. None of us have ever had any sort of practice with high split or anything. Is there money for us to do training or scenarios?
Okay, you get a training budget. That's not enough. That might not be enough. That was she's from your office, right? Do you want to answer? No, it's okay. That's a great question. I think there are ways to do that. You have go-to meetings. I mean, Andy, SSD, the region can provide science training. They can do go-to meeting, and we ought to do it multiple times so that we catch all the shifts and give you the training that you need on high split. So as far as other training to understand, you know, I think there's a lot of training we ought to do and should do. I think we've got to put it together. I mean, we're just starting to think through what all is needed to make a good office, to have an office ready for that event, okay, for that train wreck, all right? And so we need to think through that and what training we need to give your office. Now, can everybody go to residence training? No. Can we afford it? No. You know, training always gets cut. It's one of the first things, right? But I think there's ways to do it. That's where technology can be used. And I think that's what we ought to get our arms around. And I would look to the MICs to help me figure out what training's needed, where is it needed, when is it needed. I just went to the CWSU in Minneapolis. And they had record low pressure while I was there. Well, what do you think of that? A big storm comes through, and I'm in Minneapolis. And Scott was driving me. All right, little story quickly. So Scott was there. There's been a requirement to go to the CWSUs every year. There has to be a site visit. And Jack Hayes wanted a regional director from outside the region CWSU was located to go. So I got to go to Minneapolis with Scott Birch. Everybody knows Scott. Raise your hand, Scott. Okay. And so we fly to Minneapolis, and we get this rental car that was like a Ford Focus or something. I don't know. It was just really tiny, and it's going all over the road. And I'm saying, Scott, you drive this car? He says, it's the wind. And I said, there's no wind out there. I can't see anything blowing. You know, of course, there are no leaves on the trees. That's not why I'm telling you this story. I did come back and say in the future, because then we had to take the guy from headquarters, Mike Graff, in the car with us. So there's three of us in this little thing, no bigger than a Ford Focus. It was a Chevrolet something. All right. So the car was awful. And the weather was horrible. The weather was horrible. What? It was the wind, okay? But I thought it was his driving. The weather was horrible. That's not why I'm telling you this. So I went to the CWSU, and we met with the head of the training for that center, for the ARTCC, who said that every day at 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. they have a training exercise for the controllers, and they run the same thing for 2 weeks. So that they get everybody. It's only a half hour. So that they get an hour, half hour. I think it was a half hour. So that they catch every controller that comes through in a 2-week time period. Why don't we do that kind of stuff? Why don't we set up a go-to meeting and on high split and have it once a day or twice a day, whatever it is, for 2 weeks so we can get everybody through it. That's the kind of thing we have to think about. All right. I know. Carl, you're not allowed to talk yet. You want to say something? Wow.
We recorded we recorded the meeting, so I mean that was very efficient. It didn't take as much time, and we could get everybody.
Oh, and I know I got to go. think he had his hand up a long time ago. I told you I needed my full 30 minutes plus.
Really quick, Vicki, just to get to the point, I am so tired of regional boundaries and differences. Differences across the regions. What is being addressed to make us one weather service and not have to deal with that?
Nothing. Next. But you know what? Thank you for bringing that up, because I did want to make another point. That's why I was scrambling to look. You know, I take notes while I'm listening to what you all are doing. And I heard somebody, who was it, said something. Was it Joe Lester? Where's Joe? Did you say something about the boundaries? Who said something about the boundaries? It was you. Whoa. All right. Can't even find my note about you, but I had a note. Don't worry about the CWA boundaries. You see something going on, you think you need to get a warning out, and you can't get a hold of Great Falls. Issue it. Issue it. So, no, you don't. So do it. Why not? Okay, fix it. Let's fix that. Let's fix that. But let's.
As an example, why was it that last year when Western Region started putting out the NSSL2 data, it took me 6 months to go through knowing that to get them pinned on the LDM so that I could find the because of all the regional boundaries, because of all the, not only the IT and bureaucratic stuff that goes on with that. I've been doing this for 9 years. Really,
You want to secede to the Western region? All right. Look. I hear what you're saying, and that is just a huge mountain to climb. And it shouldn't be that way. One of the problems is we have so much innovation in the field. I'll go to the grassroots. The grassroots, I heard him say that today. He made me a little nervous when he got up there, Ken did, talking about the grassroots. And I'm thinking, I'm all for grassroots, because the real innovation occurs in the field office, because you identify a need and you go off and try to solve that. But the problem is 122 of you go off and try to solve it. And we still haven't tackled that problem. And I can't even tackle it in the Western region. Well, I'm going to tackle it, or I'm going to try. I tried the last time I was here. Wasn't very successful. But I'm going to try again, because I don't want 24 offices working on the same problem. Matt? Right? No, I'm talking to Matt, because Matt brought this up last week at the LIFT conference. Oh, and Jen was there, and Andy, right, was there. So I want to tackle that problem on a regional basis. I'm telling you, it's just a huge mountain to climb for me to jump in Central Region's knickers. And I can. Lynn and I are very close, and I'm sure I can talk to him. And, we got to, but it's tough. So everybody's out inventing their own thing. And then how do we, and then you run and I'm going to have that problem in Western Region. I'll pick on somebody not here. Flagstaff, they're not here. Flagstaff's going to develop something. Tucson's already got it, and I'm going to tell Flagstaff, you're going to use Tucson's. You think they're going to be happy? No. But that's what we have to do. And that's what we have to do across regional boundaries. That's part of the problem. All right, I've got to go back here. You guys got a poster session, but this is more fun.
This is easy. What would it take to get web cameras at all TAF sites, say in a collaborated effort with the FAA?
I don't know. You got money? I don't know how much they cost. Can you go to the airport and talk to them? Well, who's got to buy it? Do I have to buy it, or is the airport willing to put one up? Can you get the airport to put it up? They don't require a lot of maintenance, do they? Salt Lake, you got a ton of webcams out there all over the darn place. Okay, well then I'll give that action to Scott. He's the aviation guy. To look into what does it take to webcams. I'm serious. I don't know if we can do it. What does it take to maintain? I don't think there's much maintenance on the things, is it? Uh-oh. But how much money? All right. So how about that? He'll look into it. Peter.
Since we were on the subject of training, there was a time when Mary Lou, as the PA person, went around to the offices to do media training. Can we do that again?
I think we need more than media training. You're right. We ought to have some communications training. So let's package it differently, and I got to find somebody to do it because I don't know that I have anybody to do it. Maybe I got to hire a consultant to do it. I don't know. But that's a good thing. Who's taking notes? I always end up with actions. Who's taking notes? Do you have a scribe? Oh, Carl's taking notes? Scott is going to take the note. Scott would love to take notes. All right. Let's look into. Well, I didn't take too many. I know I got to stop. Oh, yeah, but I'm not. What's okay? But how am I going to get to the recording? I know we got to go because people are going to want to see your poster and you want to talk to each other. What? But I'm not going to listen to it and pick out actions. Write that down. All right. All right. Anything else before you go up to the 20th floor because the bar is open or something, but you got to pay. So I hope you got money in your wallet. No? You have no money in your wallet. Well, I know somebody else who doesn't. Okay. Any last word or question or... Matt, are you happy? Thank you. Thank you.
Sean Campbell, everyone. You got we must reach $75 an hour in bar sales, or else we have to. I know it's not a problem, but I know it'll be easy. I just have to.